Alright guys, today in day 2, right? Officially day 2 of April Learns to Code. That's the official name of this section.
April Learns to Code, oh boy.
So day 2 of our 100-day coding challenge, we are going to be doing the JavaScript section of Free Code Camp. We're actually going to be doing the beta because it includes more stuff. Even though she's going to be doing the current version of Free Code Camp, the reason we're going to be doing the beta is because it has more topics, and a lot of the stuff's the same in the basic JavaScript section, but we'll get to cover more. She's going to take notes. I'm going to go through it and explain topics as we go through, and if there's anything she doesn't understand, she's going to ask questions, and I'm going to try to give real world examples as we go. And on top of that, she's going to do it on her own, probably in 2 or 3 days, right? So you got to finish up your project. Yep.
Yeah. Did you want to look at my new project real quick?
Yeah, we can start with that. You actually sent it to me. So if you guys remember, yesterday, we got started. What I did was I reviewed her...
Word slur.
Yeah, I reviewed her her CodePen project, of which she was...
Okay, see this enormous gap right here?
Yes.
I can't figure that out for the life of me.
Okay.
I've put in each of its own paddings, and it still didn't change. Unless I was putting in the wrong padding.
So yesterday what we did was, if you're just tuning in, is I reviewed her project, showed her how we refactored her code, showed her how to get better at it. It looks like she improved upon my code a little bit. This looks cooler than mine did. And so it looks like you're having a padding issue.
Yeah.
So let's jump to your heading 1 and heading 2. So your font size is 100 px. Color, font family, text line center. H1, H4. Huh. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to have to go line by line real quick. So we have a div, connects to this div, your H1 and H4. Oops. Alright, so we're going to have to do a little bit of trial and error here. Your image padding is here. That's what this is coming from. That's fine. So I'm going to show you what's called the inspector tool. So we're going to do a full page mode. And we're going to inspect here. So these are debugging tools and things like that in our code. So we can click on it and we can see the CSS that's getting applied on it. So I think what is happening is that your code before, it's inheriting some basic styling to this.
Yeah, I can see that.
And
You think it's just heading 1 that has that type of...
I just want to make sure you're not using a bootstrap class called heading 1. No, you're not. Alright. Let's see here. So this div. All right, so I'm thinking it's an HTML issue or something's off. So this div connects to this div. So we have a div around here, and then we have a div that connects to here. We have a div. Let's go slow here. It connects here. No. I'm a little stumped, baby. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, yeah, because this is what took me the longest time. I would have been done with this fairly quickly, except for...
So what we're going to do is...
I was so angry, because I was like, God, it took me 2.5 hours to do this. That's crazy. But I was literally trying to, like...
Well, I know...
Find this.
I would wager that... Last updated... Actually, you want to do created. I would wager that there's some basic styling that comes with the H1 tag or a font size that's big.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
And so I bet that... No, I don't remember. But what we can do is... what's going on here is I bet our code yesterday was slightly different in which we assigned padding and we assigned margin. So sometimes these H1 tags and H4 tags have margins and paddings of their own.
Yeah.
So what we can do is we can do something like this where we'll do our padding.
I think it's padding, maybe it's margin.
And we can do 0, px. We can also do 0. Let's save it and run it. It is margin. Whoops. So look at you. You corrected me already, baby.
Do the happy dance.
Alright, so we're going to add some margin. I bet you had some margin. You see how we got rid of some of that already? And
there's margin in that one too.
Yep. And so remember when we were looking in this?
It was margin.
If you see how we hover over it?
Yeah. Look at
if
the
we
margin.
click it and we go over here, you can kind of see that's the element.
So
that's the padding.
Yeah.
That's the border, and that's the margin. If you actually look in the inspector, it says 67.
Yeah.
So the margin there is 67. So you can kind of use that to see how much of a margin you want to do. So this is commonly how you'll debug your code a lot of the times as a developer. And so we can do something like margin, and you want it right below it, right? We save it and run it, and obviously you can play around with it. So if I had to guess, you probably had some margin that was going on there. So cool.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that the only main issue you had?
Yeah. Also on the table. So you see the double lines taking place?
Yes.
So I was trying to actually get rid of that.
Okay.
And I tried a couple different ways, and I couldn't. Like, I tried this other way I saw on another website. I forget what it was called.
So I'll show you why that's happening.
Okay.
It's because, remember, we have table row, table data.
Yeah.
And
so I tried a bunch of combinations to get that to go away, and I could not figure it out.
Okay. Well, for the most part, I think it looks
so
pretty
I tried
good.
this border collapse. Yeah, I know. Like, I like it, but that's not what I was going for. So the fact that I can't get what I was actually going for is what upsets me.
Okay.
And I couldn't get it, so I just want to make sure I know how to do it.
Alright. Let's see here. Alright, so...
Hi, Rav. 404.
Alright, so... Got some people from St. Pete, huh?
Yeah.
Alright, so you see, we took it out of there, so we took it out of the table data. Now we only have it in the table head.
Yeah.
So the first thing we can try is to see how it looks when we apply it to the table row.
Okay.
That did nothing.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't do anything.
What is this border collapse?
So that was supposed to make it just have. It's supposed, from what I understand, it was supposed to help the thingy acknowledge that there's only supposed to be one line there. That is supposed to. That's what I got from it.
Alright. Set the collapsing border models for this. Is this still used? Alright, so that's the first thing that doesn't make sense to me. We'll go ahead and throw a TD on there. Save and run it. Huh. I don't know, baby. I'd have to look into it a little bit more. But I think you did a good job on it, and it looks nice. It could be that... Oh, you know what it was? I don't think we did table data. I think we did table body. Let's see. This is kind of, you play around, see what works, what doesn't. I don't know. I would say, just because I don't want to focus all the time on getting some borders going, just play around with it and see what's going on. But chances are, either there is... it all looks right to me. This is what's throwing me off.
Yeah, but I think there's something wrong with the table.
So, okay. No. I think I know what's going on. So, before we had no padding. Now there's padding. So what's happening is...
No, there was padding before.
let me take out the padding real quick.
Okay.
We're just going to comment this all out so it doesn't mean anything. Table center. We're going to comment that out. Paragraph is fine. Okay, cool. So, you'll see now it looks a little similar to how it looked before.
Just squishy. It's all condensed down.
Yeah. I think before... you know, baby, I'm going to say I'm stumped on this. I don't really know why, but it looks better this way, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. I'd have to keep on playing around with it. I don't want to do 40 minutes of us or an hour of us trying to work on a fucking border.
Fucking borders, yeah, they always fuck with you.
All right. So what we're doing today, guys, is we're going to be going through the JavaScript section of the beta free code camp. And we're going to be working on that. And I'm going to go through it. She's going to ask questions. I'm going to explain topics. And then, of course, she'll do all this on her own. The way that our lessons are going to kind of work is I'm going to troubleshoot whatever she has from her working on it today. And I'm going to the best of my ability, apparently.
No. Okay, so how it's going to go is because I learn better in a teacher-student environment. So... It's going way differently from how he was going to have us originally do it, but I enjoy being in a classroom so much, and I really do learn well with lectures. I know it's weird, but I love lectures. So he's going to literally lecture the JavaScript from Free Code Camp. I'm going to write my notes down, and then after this, tomorrow, I will then go back and go through JavaScript itself and do that homework up until the point where we get, and then if I have any questions or concerns, go back the next session and ask those questions, concerns. Also, I have still some projects to finish up for my front end certification, so I'll be doing those on top of the JavaScript stuff. So,
all right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be doing the beta version of Free Code Camp. So, comments. There's two types of comments. Remember how I showed you how to comment in HTML? You can also do comments in JavaScript as well. So you have this // which is a single line comment, and the reason you don't put comments in your code is so that if you write a function and you want someone to know what it does or why this line is here, there's a comment to explain it. Now, in a perfect world, you don't need comments because your code should explain itself, but you're dealing with thousands of lines of text.
How is that even, like, I feel like you should comment everything.
Yeah, I mean, you comment a lot, right? So April's goal is to, in 100 days, apply for an internship and eventually go down the development route or the tech route and see where it leads. But yeah, the idea is to eventually have April get a job as a developer. And this 100 days is kind of a bootstrap. What's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of a jump start.
I don't know.
to getting her going with it. All right, so those are single line comments. So I could type anything here and it'll be commented out. But if I type something here, it wouldn't be. Now, if I want to do multi-line comments, you would do it with a /*/. Now I can type whatever I want, and this will comment it out. And remember, you can select things.
Well, okay, but what's... Because you can type in this one lane as long as you can, and then eventually it'll pull over to a second line, right?
No.
No. Okay. Well, that answers that.
You can go infinitely to the right. Now, you shouldn't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you shouldn't, but you can.
Wait. Let's write my notes.
/*/. You're good. Alright, so create a comment, at least 5 letters. We'll say hello world. And that's our first comment. And then here we have our multi-line comment. And we'll put /world hello. Let's go ahead and run the test. Everything passed. We are the greatest. All right. So you're going to be using variables all the time in JavaScript. And JavaScript's what known as in other programming languages, sometimes you have to declare what type of variables there are. There are strings, which are words and sentences, right? So you would denote that with a string, with quotes. This would be undefined because we haven't set it to anything. And we can name our variable. The way that we define variables is with this var keyword. There are other ways to define variables, and we'll worry about that later. But what we've done here is simply name a keyword. Oops. We'll define you have as many variables as you need. And here all we're doing whoops. It's hard typing with one hand. Here we've just created a variable. We haven't set it to anything. That's why it's undefined. If we wanted to set it to, let's say, 5, which is of the number type. So variables have a type and a value. The value of this is 5. The type of it is number. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So these are all the data types right here. You have undefined, which would be our name right here. That it's nothing. We haven't set it anything. We have no idea. There's null, which is we've set it to be empty. That's all null means.
Okay.
There's Boolean, which is true or false. So like you only have one of two options, right? It's either true or false, like flipping a quarter. There's a string, which is sentences, words, characters. I didn't know there's a symbol, but so there's a symbol. I had to look that up. And then there's number, which we talked about, and object. So objects are a little complicated at this point, but we'll worry about that one later. Do you have any questions?
What are variables used for?
Variables are used for storing data. So if I wanted to add two numbers together, maybe I'll have variable number 1, variable number 2, and we'll return the result. And we'll say number 1 plus number 2.
But I thought variable was supposed to take data, not...
Yes, it takes in this case, this one's taking the value of 5. It's storing the value. It stores data. So, like, you store things in it. It's a storage container.
Okay. And I store values in it.
Yes.
Okay, so why do I store these values in it?
So that we don't have to rewrite numbers and sentences a million times. It makes things easier. So in this case, so let's say, hello, my name is Dylan Israel, and I like to code. A lot of text going on here. So what we're doing is we're storing what? What type is it?
that string.
String. That's right. We're storing a string. And so instead of me, if I wanted to print this out, typing it all out again, this is how you would print something in your console.log. I could instead just call my name, because we stored this string in the my name variable.
Okay, but how would you use that in an application? Like, where would that make sense?
Okay, so if we wanted, so let's go to numbers. So if we wanted, say we're making a calculator, and we wanted to add some numbers together, and let's just say that number was 5, and we'll call this num1, and then we'll have another variable. What number do you want it to be?
6.
Is equal to 6, and we wanted
Do you need those spaces?
No, but it's probably best to write clean code.
Okay.
So it's a lot easier to kind of see if it's not like this, right?
Yeah, I was curious.
Yeah, so it's just good.
Because it doesn't some of the code like identify space as like a type of character?
Not in JavaScript.
Okay. Because when we went to that one place, the space was considered a character.
Are you talking about the meetup?
Yeah.
No, you misunderstood that. Yeah. It's okay. So let's say this was a function, and we want instead of we could just go ahead and add these numbers. Num1 plus num2. But maybe we also want to.
It's just so much easier to type 5 and 6 though.
But this is the most basic example there is.
Okay.
Because remember, you're getting inputs, so you don't know that it's going to be 5 or 6. A user is sending you this data by entering a key, and you're setting these numbers, and regardless of what the numbers are, then you're transferring over. Saying, look, whatever number 1 is and number 2 is, go ahead.
What type of website would use this? I don't understand why. I'm not grabbing this.
Okay. I'm going to pull up one of my web applications. We're going to go, since you want to skip over, not skip over, but you want to see a real world example.
I need a real world example because
Okay.
I don't get it.
I'll show you a real world example. So.
It doesn't make sense to me to have a variable of something like this if you're not going to have a practical use for it. Like, how am I supposed to use it if I don't know how it's going to be used?
I know, baby. 1 second. Let me pull up. Okay, you know what? Better yet, let me pull up my calculator example in CodePen. It's not the best code I've ever written, but it does use exactly what we were talking about.
Every website uses it. Yeah, but how?
Because it's how so you know how HTML is kind of like the body? It's kind of like the template, and CSS is the looks. So JavaScript is the brain. It's the logic. It's how.
Okay, but I get that, but
it's if you want to do anything.
How are you going to use a variable? That's what I don't understand.
However,
because I understand a website taking the brain. How to use the brain on the website?
Well, that's what we're going to teach you, baby.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so
I can't learn like that, Rav. I will find. I can't accept that.
All right. Look. So here, what we have is an array. This is considered an object.
Okay.
An array is nothing but a list. So you can have as many things in it as you want. So let's say it goes 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
So a reason that we would store data in the calculator example is right here. We are putting in an input.
So each one of these buttons has a variable.
Yes. And in this case, it's a 7.
Okay.
And this one's an 8.
Okay.
And this one's a 9. So right now our inputs, you don't see it right now, but our inputs is actually an array of 7, 8, 9. So we're storing that data.
Okay.
Now,
so it's already being stored.
Mm-hmm.
And once the user uses it,
yes,
they can store their own variables into it.
their values into the variable.
Hmm.
So the variable exists, and the variable exists, and what's happening is you are changing the value of it right now. So we set the type. We set it to an array.
I got it.
And we're pushing the value to it, is what it's called. Or splicing it, but we're just inserting the value to the array.
Okay.
So in this case, we have an array of operators, plus, minus, slash, star, and this stores these values because they're different, right? These are different types. And the reason that we have this nums array is because we just store it and print it out and things like that. So don't worry about all of this. But so this right here is our code where we're actually pushing in to the array. Don't read the chat. Or stay focused.
Sorry.
All right, so what happens is we set up all this logic to work with the user working our project. And our inputs we check to see, but that's why we store the values. Does that make sense? Why we use variables?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's jump back into here. And we'll just reset this because this shit went haywire for a second. So we're gonna create our variable my name, and because we don't set it to anything, it's undefined.
Okay.
Now usually when you get the value undefined, chances are it doesn't exist. Either you never set the value or the value itself doesn't exist. Okay?
No.
So let's say we try to console log my name 2. It would return undefined because it doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Okay. Why doesn't it exist?
Because we never created it.
Okay.
And it can't find it. In this case, it returns undefined because we never, even though we basically initialize it, but we never set it to anything. If we wanted it to be empty, we would set it to what?
No.
Good.
Yes.
All right.
Totally guess on that.
No, that's a good guess. All right. So, as we showed a second ago, we were just initializing the variable. We didn't actually set it to anything.
Okay.
In free code camp stuff. Now what we're going to do is the assignment operator. It's basically just an equal sign. What that means is if we want to reset the value, remember how we had the inputs array? But let's say we just wanted to, instead of adding something, we wanted to reset it entirely. We do that with an equal sign. So in this case, they initialize the variable a, which they haven't used yet, and they actually set the value of b equal to 2. And you can do it all in one line.
What do you mean you can do it all?
Like you don't have to create variable a, and then in the line below do it a is equal to 2.
Okay, so
you
if
can.
you're telling me that, then how would that look like? Do I put a and b equals 2, or? Because I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm just saying that you can set it as b is being set here. Does that make sense?
No. What?
You can set the value and create the value at the same time. So in A, there's no value, right? It's undefined.
Okay, there's no value for A.
So if we wanted to set A, we would do it after we initialize it like this. And you would... Does that make sense?
But why would you do that?
Because maybe down the road we want it to exist, so our code works, but we don't know what it is till the user inputs it, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like why we set up the array with no values. Because we know that we need the array.
The person's going to apply the values while they're using it.
Correct.
So you're compensating for that.
Exactly. It exists. There's just nothing in it yet.
Okay.
All right. So. All right. So A should have a value of 7. So remember how we set that? And our code wants A to have a value of 7. So the way that we use that is the assignment operator, the equal sign. We're saying A equals this number. And we want B to equal 7. So you remember, so far all we've done is set values. But you can actually use these variables and set them equal to each other.
So you can put b equals 5.
Yeah, you can put b equals 5, and we can change the value. But in this case, we want b to equal 7.
Oh, I thought you were saying that putting this here and then adding another b with a value will add it together, but that's not the case.
No. It could be if you wanted it to be, but not the way you're saying. So,
Okay.
So if we wanted to...
I was like, wow, that's pretty...
So, in this case, we want b to equal 7. Now, we could do it like this, right? That would work. But the example here wants to show you that you can actually use variables to set it to the variables as well. So in this case, a is equal to 7. And when we want to set the value from 2 to 7 using a, all we have to do is b is equal to a.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but why would you do that? How would that even be... I guess you just have to be in a situation where that just becomes useful. Okay, so you have a variable set for b equals 2.
Yes.
Okay. Is this also a variable?
B?
Yeah.
Yes.
Equals a.
No. We're resetting the value. So we have only two variables.
Okay.
Okay.
It's resetting it, so 2 is totally null.
Yeah, 2 doesn't exist anymore when you hit this line.
I was like, whoa.
No. Yeah. So, unlike the only items that can store multiple values are arrays.
Okay.
Which are the lists.
Okay.
Other than that, you're just going to be overriding the value.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because yeah, okay. I forgot.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
So we a second ago said it's that usually you will initialize a value. All that means is when you create a variable, setting a default value.
Wait, okay, so there's assignment,
Yeah.
which is the equal sign.
Yes.
And initialize
Is the same thing. It's just another way of saying when I create my variable, assigning a value at the same time.
Oh, shit. Okay, so what? You can use them intermittently, or they actually mean different things?
No. They initialize is just setting a value when we create our variable. And assignment is kind of the same thing, except
It can be just a placeholder?
no. Placeholder isn't the right word. Assignment is when you override the value or you set it equals to something. So
I thought that's what initializing was.
no, initialize. See how we're creating our variable and setting it to 0 at the same time?
Yeah.
That's initializing. Now assignment in this case would be equivalent of setting it to here. We just assign that value to the already created variable.
What?
All right.
Shit.
No, it's all right. It's all. Hey, baby, we all got to learn. All right. So when we initialize a variable, we create this right here. This whole thing is being initialized.
Because it's fully complete.
Yes, because we're creating a variable, and we're giving it a value to start off with.
Okay, so it's totally done.
Yes,
The
it
variable has been
has
complete.
its initial value.
The value has been initialized.
The variable has been initialized.
Shit! Okay, so the variable has been initialized. Now at the bottom is just an assignment.
Yes, we are assigning a new value to that variable. The variable already exists because we created it here.
Okay, but why would they teach you the assignment before they teach you the...
They-
I feel like...
I think what they're giving you is they're trying to just teach you some terminology here. Now don't forget that I'm teaching you this as we go because you're asking questions and we're not necessarily going in order. So some of the things that we've been discussing is because you've been asking questions.
No, I get that, but we were talking about an assignment operator before this one, weren't we?
Yes, right here.
Yeah.
But
So it sounds like the initialize should come
So-
first, and then the assignment
so
should
I don't-
come second,
so-
because that's confusing.
So this is still an assignment operator, okay? The equal sign is the assignment operator, but the action of setting an initial value, you're initializing the variable with the assignment operator. Does that make more sense?
No.
So we're setting an initial value. Initial
Okay.
being the first value on creating of the variable.
Okay.
So
Okay, so
the
initial is initial.
Yes.
Okay, there's no special other term.
No, initial is the very first, right?
Okay.
And so
So assignment can go back and reassign to an initial value for the variable.
so the equal sign. It's all right, baby. It's new, right? So the equal sign is the assignment operator, okay? Baby?
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah.
It's all right. Look, so the equal sign is the assignment operator. That's all.
Okay.
We use it when we create our variable, if we want to, right?
Okay.
In this case, we're using it to assign 0. Now, this whether we use that or not, we're initializing the variable. Okay? Now you can initialize it with the assignment operator. That's how you set the default value, the initial value.
Okay.
Now, all we're doing here is reassigning it.
Okay.
It's still the assignment operator. It's just we're setting an initial value when we create it.
Okay.
Here we're reassigning it.
Okay, but assessment can be either or then.
The assignment operator?
Yeah.
Yeah, you use it in both stages. So.
Okay, both stages. So an initial and okay.
Okay, so let's describe what we just learned, because I want to make sure you got it.
Okay, so for initializing, it's your first value. You don't even have to give it an assignment. You can just have it there. So the variable R var.
Yes.
And then for an assignment, that means that is the equal sign. So you can give it a value, or you can give it a value later because you can give because of the assessment.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, thank God.
Oh. So in this case, we're giving it 9 to pass our example here. Oh, and this needs to be A. That needs to be A. Initialize a value of A. So the assignment here is to initialize variable A. Cool. All right. So remember how we were talking about undefined? Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here, if we were to forget this bottom part, if we were to right here ask, hey, what's the value of A, it would return undefined because we haven't set it yet.
Right. Because there's no assessment.
Yeah, and remember your code runs top to bottom.
Right. So whatever is last.
It goes line by line for right now, for the sake of this, for our code.
Okay.
So this runs, and this runs, and this runs, and so on and so forth. So a shout out to Codecoure, who is kind enough to do a interview with us. He did my interview with me last week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
He's
pick.
got some good assign equals whenever you assign a value, even overwriting the previous value. Yeah, that's what you just said to me.
Yeah.
Yay.
What are you, a coding YouTube groupie? What is this? All right. So when we run our code right now, you'll see that none of these are passing. And what we want it to do is you can actually use, when we set the value, we can use our own variable in here to reset the value as well. So in math,
You want a whiteboard? Because you can't use my...
No, that's all right. So in here, what they want us to do is initialize the variable to 5. So we initialize it with the assignment operator, the equal sign.
Okay. No, let's use the vocab.
All right, so we use the assignment operator. And we're going to do the same thing for B. And we're going to set that equal to 10. And what type are these again?
Values. Oh no, they're numbers.
Yes.
Okay.
That's it. They're numbers. All right, and then we are going to set I am a, and what type is this?
String.
Good. And when we run this,
I wonder why they had all these new words for them. Like why not sentences?
do you want to know what I was told? I don't know if this is true. Because you string it together. So like the way I kid you not, in my school, the way they explained the string was they wrote this up like this, and then he took a highlighter, and then he did this, and then you string it together. That's why it's a string. I don't know if that's true or not.
Sounds like a load of shit.
All right, so
It could be from like Old English, where when they first started writing, that everything was put together. So even if you were looking at it, there was no spaces between letters or words, and there was no period, so it was all strung together. Not only until we got the Great Vowel Shift from, what country was that? I forget. But that's when everything started becoming separated.
okay, so
So that could be it.
so
That makes more sense to me than that.
yeah. So in this case, you'll see that we're reassigning the value of A, right?
Okay, because there it's saying that A equals A.
Plus 1.
Plus 1.
One is, so we can use the value that's in A to set a new value for A. So A is 5.
So really A is 6.
Once it hits here, A is now 6. Yes. And what would B be in this case?
15.
Good. Now, what do you think C is going to be?
I am a string.
Good. So what's going to happen here is it's actually going to, if I can fuck my finger up right now, it's actually going to
Some medicine.
to add the strings together. Good. Now, we're going to talk about what's called camel case. Now, there's sort of, we've been talking about good conventions, right? We want to make sure that we write proper code. Some of those things are putting comments in our code, good spacing. Another thing is naming our variables correctly. You want to follow the best practice, use what's called a camel case. It's exactly like this. You start off with a lowercase, and when you hit a new word in there, you then capitalize it. So you saw how our name, the N, was capitalized, right? Or maybe you didn't. But
Vaguely.
so in this case, we have...
Those are like midway. What? Udly is a new word?
Studley, cap...
No, it's Udly, cap, var.
Yeah, so not good, right?
Because it's supposed to be studly.
Cap, var. I think that's what they're going for. So,
Yeah.
in this case, the way that we would fix this, we would have studly, cap, and then we'd var. Var is for variable. Sure. Studly, cap is short for capital. Var. Now, the proper camel case is already set up, right? So, proper. So, you start off with the lowercase. And then, the reason it's called camel case is there's no hump. The next word, there's a hump.
Well, if you count the head, it's kind of like a hump. I'm just saying.
All right.
If I were to draw a camel, it'd be.
All right. So you
think this through.
Okay. So to fix this title case, why is this wrong? Title case over.
Because it's supposed to start with lowercase.
Yes. So you start with the lowercase.
Almost didn't catch that.
It's all right. Part of the hard part of coding when you're just getting started is knowing what to look for. And that's going to be the most frustrating thing. So a lot of times people try and get me to debug their code, but I don't because I charge for that. So
I would want to. I would just want to debug ever.
Yeah, so I don't have the time for one also. But they don't know this, but I usually look at it to see if it's something easy. And it usually is. And I can spot it just because I'm trained enough to know what to look for.
Yeah, because you debug at work.
Yeah. And so a lot of the process of becoming a developer is knowing how to spot errors in your code.
Yeah, that's one thing I did like about coding was like the people who finished first in high school then had to go and help other people debug their things. And my friend and I, we were always the ones that finished first. So we'd see how many of us could debug our other students in the class, like who could debug more.
All right, so here we're just going to go ahead and change these to their proper. Now you should never have two variables named the same thing.
Okay.
Your variables are case sensitive. So even though I could create a title case over with a capital T and it'd be a different variable, it's bad convention. You need to name it something else.
Okay.
But it would technically work. So here.
So it's kind of like electricity. Even though it could technically work, it's bad practice.
Like electricity?
Yeah. Like wiring. Like just because you can get the light bulb to turn on doesn't mean you wired it correctly.
Yes. I've never heard that analogy in this case. So,
hey, HGTV! Shout out!
Alright. So far what we've done is we showed... So we've talked about how to add numbers, right? So it works for all math.
Okay.
Alright.
I hate math.
Well, you only have to be pretty much good at algebra to be a good developer for the most part. So,
what about geometry? Can you be good at geometry?
If what you're working on requires geometry, it just depends.
Slay at geometry. Algebra kick my ass.
Alright. Well, you'll get better the more you go. So, in this case, we want our sum right here to equal 20. What are we going to do if we change this?
You want it to equal 20?
Yeah, so we have 10 plus 0. What do we do? What do we change?
Well, you could change the 10 to 20, or you could put another 10 in there.
So what do you want to do?
I would just put the 20.
Alright. Actually, we have to use the plus operator.
Oh.
But we can add by 0. We can add a 0. That's fine. And that'll work too. Because 20 plus 0 is 20.
Because I thought good practice was keeping it simplified,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but right now what we're doing is we're
learning symbols.
We're learning the operators, the math operators.
So isn't it just a conventional plus minus multiple
to get started? Yes.
Okay.
So you can also minus things. So we want this to be 12. So 45 minus 33 returns 12.
This is where I would pull out a calculator.
All right. So you can use subtraction as well. You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. You can also use multiplication. The way you use multiplication is not with an X, it's with an asterisk.
Yeah. I learned that when I started using the calculator on the computer.
Okay. Well, that's probably where it came from. So you have 8 times 10 is going to return 80. All right. And then divide is with the slash. So if we wanted it to return 2, we would divide by 33. The quotient.
You're so smart.
All right. I think this is a good place to stop.
Okay.
But you understand the 4 math operators.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So
you can easily increment.
and we're gonna stop here, baby,
Oh, okay.
because this is a new topic.
Okay.
So we're at here. I'm gonna stand this up real quick.
Okay.
All right, guys. So that was April's first introduction to JavaScript. If I had one critique, I think wanting to know the end result without knowing the path is something that sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith with when it comes. Stand up. Is something you just have to take a leap of faith with when learning this. Sometimes is it may not be apparent to her quite yet why or how these things are used, because she's not quite there yet on how to think like a developer, how to think like a programmer. So let's do some review. What was it that we learned? Try go in sequential order.
So first we learned how to comment.
Okay, and there's two types of comments. What are they?
Single line and multiple line.
Okay. Then what we start with?
Assessment. No.
Variables.
Okay.
And,
variables and the different types of variables. So there's null, undefined, string, number, symbol. I think I'm missing one.
Boolean.
Boolean.
Boolean, not boolean.
Boolean.
And what's a boolean?
I don't know.
True or false?
True or false.
We haven't used it yet.
Okay. And then we started learning how to use those things and how variables can be defined and called upon and given values with assessment. And then we learned that initializing is the first step towards an assessment if you want it to be.
Correct. So we learned how to initialize values, giving them the initial value. And we also learned how to, that you can use a variable with another variable, or even use a variable within itself when using the assignment operator. And then we've followed it up by showcasing how to add, subtract,
And all the basic
multiply.
algebra.
And we also showed how you could join strings together using the plus sign.
No, we didn't get that.
Yeah, we did one time, one little line. Remember
No,
when
it
it was
wasn't
like
strings, the numbers.
Remember I am a string or something? It had
So
var
using-
A, var B,
So
var
using
C.
the plus sign will add. Oh, okay.
So if you have
can
two
use it to add
strings-
strings, not just numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah. So what do you think?
It sounds like a pain in my ass.
What? it's gonna be a difficult path, but this is what will separate you from a web designer making $45,000 to being on the path to be a full stack developer making over six figures.
Yeah, I don't think that it's hard. It's not hard. It's just it's like learning how to read and write all over again. Like it really is. I can think back to a time when I was learning how to sound out my vowels, and here I am like trying to sound out my fucking data strings. Like yeah, I know it's just a learning curve, just like everything else. I'm glad that I'm old enough to understand it still, thank God, 'cause at a moment there I was like, maybe I'm too stupid for this.
No, it's just new, baby.
But
So my suggestion for you is tomorrow to finish up the one or two changes you have to your tribute page, and then start on your portfolio page and try to just recreate the portfolio they have, but with your own images and your own data and your own. There's not gonna be any JavaScript in that.
oh, okay.
And so work on that, and our lessons will continue going through the JavaScript.
Well, I want to work on that, and I want to work through the JavaScript that we already gone over, so I don't forget it, so I can start initializing it. Because I know how I learn.
Okay, so if you want to start the JavaScript,
I'm just gonna do up to the point that we did.
Okay. Good. All right, guys. Are there any questions for April or myself? And as always, guys, make sure to join our Facebook group, Code Tech and Caffeine. The link is in the description. And if you want to support me and in effect support April, because I pay all the bills up in this bitch, you can at patreon.com/codingtutorials360. I'm just kidding, baby. Or you just want to help a man.
You know what?
Today.
You know what? We were in the opposite shoes
Oh,
quite some time ago. Okay.
I know, baby. That's why I'm happy to do.
And did I rub that shit in your face? No, I didn't.
She did not. She did not a single time. I will say that.
In fact, I encouraged him to be a gamer. Okay,
Yeah,
when he wasn't making jack shit. As long as he loved what he was doing, that's what mattered.
She's right. She's right. She's a better person than I am.
Which instantly puts me below.
But yeah, guys. Thank you for watching.
Wait. April, how do you think you're doing so far? I think that I may be doing better than I thought I was, because Dylan was really surprised about my HTML page, in which case I was like, this is total shit. So I'm happy about that. Win-win. I feel accomplished. And then for this Java thing, at least I got it, and I'm not sitting here still trying to figure it out. For me, that's also another win, because I've walked away from classes where I feel like totally helpless or hopeless, and that's always a big problem for me. So at least I'm not walking away from something that I wasn't able to not understand. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good. I was concerned for a little bit. In the back of my mind, I was like freaking out. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I was. But I think that Dylan being here is definitely a big help, so I'm happy with that.
I only charge her the same rate I charge you guys too. It's $75 an hour. I
have my own way of paying.
Why don't we wrap it up about the project that you want to build? So Codecoure asks, what kind of stuff will you want to build when you're much better?
So there's actually already an application that I want to build that's kind of my fire underneath me to keep me going. I'm really affected by our consumption, and I really do believe that
Consumption of what?
Consumption of food. So there's tons of starving people around the world, and we all know this, and it doesn't have to be in Africa or somewhere that you don't even know. It could be, I went to college and I would give my meal plans away because my mom would come and bring me food every week, and I would just eat the food, and I didn't really use my meal plans. But I knew that there are other students who were going to school and in class with me who hadn't eaten. So anyways, I started doing a lot of research on that, and it's kind of disgusting on how much food we throw away. It's disgusting. So, it's kind of my way of helping the world have something that they can use that's user-friendly to help with that, so that families aren't wasting food and aren't wasting money, because we are stuck in this type of economy where you need money to survive. And I think that's total bullshit. I think we're better than that. I think we're smarter than that. And I want to help contribute to that.
So the app in its core that April has described to me is she wants to essentially help people. She wants to build an app where you don't waste your food as much, and so you keep track of what groceries you've used, what you have left, and what recipes may be available for you to use.
Yeah, with the food that you already have.
With the food that you have. So she's a much better person than me. I just want to make money. Give me the money, people. I don't care what I'm doing.
And I also plan for the app to be nonprofit, so it's going to be hugely based on contribution from people who want to get involved, and I'm hoping that a lot of people are going to want to get involved because, like they say anywhere, it starts at home. You want to develop a good habit to exert out into the world, it starts at home.
All right. On that note, have a good one as we are in our home, and I'm actually burning up. I don't know. Is it hot in here, right?
No.
All right. Well, I'm going through menopause, and
Thank God, because I didn't want it.
that's you're too young for me. It's got like 20 more years. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you are doing your hour a day. I am going to get back to my grind from here. I hope these are helping. We're in day 3 of. We got 97 more of these motherfuckers, and probably a few wrap ups. So
we're doing good so far. We haven't fought once, so that's good.
I'm just too tired to fight.
I really thought you'd get frustrated with me if I didn't get something.
I'm a very patient guy.
Biggest joke ever.
No, I'm patient.
Yeah.
All right, baby. You want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, was it code long and prosper?
Code long and prosper, guys. That's so geeky.